Oh, hey, it's out. Raren isn't as fun, but these are still fun videos regardless.
Raren. This, I don't know how this video is going to go, to be honest with you. You and I, we've done a lot of these now, and I wanted to try something a little bit different. You ready for something a little bit different?
No.
Okay, well, too bad. You're stuck with me. Anyway, so one of the advantages of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that we are a card game based off the anime. And so, I thought it would be fun to show you cards that maybe
Hey, there's already
in the anime also got printed in the
National Championship.
Game. And your goal is to figure out
Yukador
if you think
and
these cards
Chili.
had a one-to-one, like a one-to-one, like, rendition into the game, or if it was either too strong for the anime, so they had to nerf it for the actual game, or if it was bad, but they made it good.
Mitsurugi.
Does that make sense?
Oh wow, this guy isn't even running the other Mitsurugi ritual.
Do you want to do Pot of Greed first?
We're not gonna do Pot of Greed, but
Yeah, they're not running mirror or pre-preparation, which I definitely agree it's not that good.
You're correct. And so this is
Whoa, Ghost Bell on main. That's crazy.
Screenshot the effect for you before I show you the actual card itself. So
and it reached top 16.
Okay, so you're always showing me the anime one first.
I'm always going to show you the anime card first, and then you have to figure out, you know, you can talk about if you think it's good, bad, whatever for the actual game.
I'm Archfiend, yep, lots of people are doing that. Gaga cowboy for time, motherfucker.
As long as this card remains face up on the field, negate the activation effects of all trap cards.
I just realized it's a little sad
Translated well.
That Artifact Lancia is taking so much slots. Because that actually does mean we're seeing a lot less of Ghost Sister Spooky Dogwood on side decks on these lists.
Okay.
Which I think is hilarious.
I should know this one because I watched the first season.
I was about to say.
I should know this. It does
There was
ring a bell.
the other one from Yukador.
Say first season. What do you mean?
I stopped watching.
Now what the hell? People are not running the other.
This would be the white haired dude. Oh my god, what's his name?
Sakura?
Yeah, where he was caught.
The other
was,
one.
at the end of it, and he was like, "Oh, this is just beginning" or some shit, and then that's where it stopped. I didn't watch the Egyptian god cards with their
Oh, you haven't seen Jinzo then in that case. Jinzo is in the second season of the first arc. Okay. So you have not seen this card technically in the anime.
So
They're also not running Mikowosu, which is really sad. I mean, I get it.
So, how do I even do this? Is the card too strong?
Yeah, I guess Night Sword Serpent is kind of the best fucking extender.
Well, it doesn't seem too strong.
It's not that bad of a brick as much as I like to say it is.
Context, this card was released in the 4th set ever in 2003, I want to say. So this is a very old card for context.
You do have to sacrifice a bit of monster for it though, which is kind of a bigger deal. So I don't think this is okay. I'm pretty confident this is translated 1-to-1. I'm pretty confident here.
Okay.
I also think
you don't even think this card's that good though.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say it was playable for sure, but I wouldn't call it broken like Pot of Greed. But actually, you know what?
Two Eclipse Twins is certainly a choice.
Horrible here because they translate. I'm you can confirm or deny this, but I'm pretty confident they translated Pot of Greed 1-to-1 over. So
yes,
if that's
I
the
will give you
case,
that one. Pot of Greed got ported 1-to-1.
And that card's turbo fucking broken in your game. So I think the analysis of saying is it too good to get translated.
Let me see if there's a Malice list already.
In gameplay mechanics of just how good it is in Yu-Gi-Oh after all these videos,
you know,
seems
there you go.
It would be fine. Even older Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't think this is that bad.
Yeah, more people are playing Mitsurugi than they are playing Malice.
I feel like they would want to maintain the 1-to-1.
I don't really get it.
For the anime, because then you feel like you're a part of the anime, which is
I mean, honestly, I do. So, Malice has hits, Mitsurugi does not.
Would you believe me?
They both have very glaring weaknesses that I don't really think one is objectively better than the other right now. I feel like they're both pretty equal.
I guessing not being able to use trap cards is that good.
Yeah, because think about it. Cards like Mirror Force, for instance, that wipes your whole board when you attack. Or there's plenty of other just really powerful trap cards. And so Jinzo, there's another card too.
Speak of the devil.
There was just these sets of cards that basically just blanket negated all of one type of card in the game. Right? And so Jinzo was
One-off
phenomenal for
dimension
this exact
shifter
reason.
in main.
It required a tribute, yes, but you could cheat it out with like ways to like reborn it from the graveyard and stuff. So you didn't always have to tribute it. But its stats were just like phenomenal. It could just take out like most things. Just a incredibly well-designed card. And you are correct. It did have a direct one-to-one translation, or a porting, I guess. And I will show you the actual Jinzo. You can just see it right here. Basically the exact same effect. The templating is a bit different, but in terms of like functionality, it is the exact same card. Very powerful card. This might surprise you. Jinzo will still see play today sometimes. If there are trap decks that are like prevalent in the format, which isn't very common because they have to be like very good for them to be playable, Jinzo will actually get sideboarded like for these particular decks, because like no other card does what Jinzo does as good as it does.
Oh, so like in a tournament it'll be sideboarded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again,
if there are trap decks, like you can, because now you can bring out Jinzo like on your first turn, like very easily. So just like slapping a Jinzo down against a trap deck, they kind of just like lose. Like, to be honest, it's like actually like really good.
And they didn't print.
It's cool because it's aged well.
Okay, so and I'm guessing they just never printed this effect ever again. Like this is the guy.
There are other cards that negate traps. There's a card, for instance, called Trap Stun, which ironically is a trap card, with the effect that says negate all trap cards for the turn. I think there's another card called Royal Decree, which negates all other trap effects except itself, because it's a continuous trap card itself. So there's a few other cards that can negate traps. But Jinzo's, I think, the best of the bunch, just because it's also a monster, so it also pressures the opponent. Royal Decree is a trap card, so like, cool, you can negate all their trap cards, but now like you need a way to like kill them, right? So Jinzo being 2400, it's a pretty good stat line. It's hard to like run over by battle, for instance. Honestly, just like a very well-designed card for what it's worth, which is kind of shocking considering it's kind of oppressive in some ways, where it just negates all traps. But yeah, Jinzo's a house. Like old school Yu-Gi-Oh, like you were so happy to have a Jinzo.
Okay. All right.
All right, so you're on the board. You started off well. All right, let's see what you think about this card.
This one's gonna be difficult. Like actually, how to work.
Main decking three ofs of two different Molcharmies is a fucking
exchange. Okay.
choice. Like wow, holy shit.
Legacy of the Duels for sure.
Okay.
I gotta think about what this does though. It was here we go. Each player contribute monsters on their opponent's side of the field at the same time.
At the same time?
What the hell does that mean? Like, what is that?
At the same time.
Does that mean
so you contribute your opponent's stuff, they contribute your stuff.
But like I contribute monsters on my opponent's turn?
It would be your turn, but they contribute stuff on your turn.
What the fuck? Okay, hold on, I got this theory. I feel like, hey, maybe I'm thinking of a different card here.
Okay.
I don't know if my memory is like really the good way of doing this, because like I truly don't remember like half the shit I saw in that game.
Well, first, you think this card's even good?
Yes.
Okay.
It's absurd. I mean, if I'm understanding how it works mechanically, it does. Even if your opponent has one monster, it's probably still fine, because it's like in a way, it's almost like removal.
Tribute for Jinzo.
And then your opponent would have to have like so. When you literally say at the same time, you mean like during my turn, if I use this card, my opponent has a bunch of monsters. I tribute their monsters to summon my Jinzo, whatever. That also means that during my turn on the same turn, my opponent contribute my Jinzo for something.
I would assume that's what it means by at the same time.
Okay, so that seems like, at least in my mind, a super anime thing to do, but in actual gameplay, that sounds fucking miserable. Because then you're at a standstill.
Well, that's if they have a tribute monster, right? That's if they have a tribute monster.
I mean, that's fair. You're definitely not wrong. But then there becomes a mechanic of like, or not even a mechanic. It's just like there's a standstill, right? Like if I know they have a tribute monster, they know I have a tribute monster. I could play this card and just be like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna sacrifice this monster. They'll be like, okay, well, now that you did that, I'm gonna do it to you. And that sounds awful. Like your opponent would have to. You would have to know 100% that your opponent cannot tribute a monster, which I feel like
I like Wosu though. It's a great board breaker.
They can make shit up. So if you think that, like, gameplay-wise, that's bad, you can say that you don't think this was, like, a one-to-one translation.
I don't think it is, but I'm thinking about, okay, in the anime, it would be like, I cast Soul Exchange to sacrifice your monster for my Jinzo, and then all of a sudden Yugi's like, haha, you fell to my trap card, because I knew you were going to play that, and therefore I'm going to sacrifice your Jinzo for my monster. And then he wins the duel because of it.
Okay, that sounds very Yugi. Yeah.
In the real world, That sounds fucking miserable, and I don't think I'd play this game again.
So I'm pretty sure they can translate this 1-to-1 purely from like a mechanical standpoint. I just feel like it's not good game design in the real world.
Final answer?
Final answer. Like there's no way this
You are correct.
Hey,
Soul Exchange was not translated exactly 1-to-1. For people who are going to be sticklers, if it basically does like the exact same thing or it's like just very slightly off, I'm going to like be like generous with it. But Soul Exchange, no, this at the same time thing, that wasn't really there. So Soul Exchange, just during your turn, lets you tribute one of your opponent's monsters. What's cool about Soul Exchange is that there's a lot of like neat intricacies with this card. First of which, you can actually target face down monsters, which this is another old card, so you were still setting monsters in old Yu-Gi-Oh! So being able to do that would actually prevent the opponent from getting like any flip effects, right? Because they can't flip the card face up. It just immediately goes to the graveyard. So it would play around things like that. Also, it doesn't say you have to tribute it for a tribute summon. So any card that has an effect that would tribute a monster for like an effect, you can use Soul Exchange to take your opponent's monster and tribute it for that effect instead of doing it for a tribute summon. There's also the downside with Soul Exchange.
Jesus Christ, that's so bad.
Activated. But most of the time, that doesn't really matter all that much because you're getting so far ahead, like in tempo and advantage, that you're perfectly fine skipping your battle phase for a turn. This card actually has seen quite a bit of play historically. Right now, it's a bit too slow, and there's like better versions of this card. When you're talking about tribute summoning on your opponent's turn, there's a much better version of this card that actually does do that. We won't talk about that, though.
Okay.
We'll maybe save that for a later video. But still, like a really cool card, and has actually just had like a neat history throughout the game, just because it's had a lot of like really weird applications that people didn't really realize at first.
Was this card banned or no?
No, this card was just never limited, never banned. It was always in 3 copies. Like it was the fact that you skip the battle phase is a big deal. But for the decks that want to play this card, they can forego the battle phase because they get so far ahead in like advantage that they don't care. Especially with what they would be tributing, that might have an effect that also like pops a card on their field or like rips a card from their hand. So they get like a huge swing in advantage, like just by using this card. Because not only do you get that, but then you tribute their monster off as well. So they're just so far behind. But a very good card. Very good card. All right. Next up. You're doing good. You're 2 for 2. You're 2 for 2.
Thank you.
All right. This card's cool. I love cards that show like other Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the art. It's very meta.
Life Shaver. Your opponent must discard 1 card from their hand for each of your turns that this card has been said.
Wow. What do you think?
That is, I mean, okay, cool design, and it's always.
I don't agree with not running the other, because the other monsters,
you'd be happy with that.
the thing that you do, because having this
but I don't think you really care for the most part.
gives you infinite recursion, even if it is better to just summon this guy instead, but I don't know.
If you go first and you play this,
Worth
that means you get
checking at
one turn
least.
set, you wait 1 other turn, it's 2. Like
It's not like it's a brick or anything.
It's like reverse Pot of Greed.
Yeah, it is actually reverse Pot of Greed. So
At least it's not that bad of a brick.
In the anime, how would this work? You play this, it's like they're going through their whole like spiel, they're fighting, they're dueling, the whatever, and then all of a sudden like Weevil's like, oh, the next turn you're fucked, and then all of a sudden you proc this card, and then he loses, and that's you winning the game. Okay, in actual life, your opponent must discard. Okay, I play this going first. My opponent has to react. Like, if this is in the game, my opponent has to know that it's a possibility that I could play this. Therefore, they want you to try. What is it called? Activate their trap card, I guess. And then if you activate their trap card and this is played for 1 card, I guess you're fine. But if this has more than 1 card, you're pretty upset.
I really disagree with 2 Ice.
If this was in
Ice is best normal summoned.
It's weird because like mechanically,
You don't get anything out of its special summon thingy of sending a card.
Like, the only way this would make
It
sense
could
is
come
this
up,
is
but
secret.
if it
is
does,
secret, and then
if you ever need, if you're ever down bad for that, there's still no dry seal anyhow, which I don't agree with either.
But I also think like this actually is a
To be here, because most of the time, just getting either dual drive or detonator out,
like secrets is kind of like figuring out which
dual drive for the field spell or just detonator so you have some pops.
If this is like life
Good enough.
then you do want to actually proc every secret to figure out what it is. And if you know what it is, then you can play around it by playing your cards, obviously.
Maybe in gameplay it's actually a lot worse than that. Like it would be a fun mini game until it actually like just rips your whole hand and then you're crying. So they would probably never print this, which is probably fair. Which means, okay, if it's not playable in Hearthstone, like, I don't think it would be fun in Hearthstone. Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't, I don't think really pays attention to that. I could be wrong. This card also just feels like it's not a really fun design. And I don't know what Konami does. Like you showed me cards where I can't believe they actually printed it. So it's tough for me to be like, oh, like it doesn't feel good. So I don't think they would print it. But this one's like, especially depending on how early it is in the anime, I don't know if they would want a card like this in their game. Knowing how, like, I don't, if they print Pot of Greed, though, they could be like, oh, hey, like, this is like a counter to Pot of Greed. Because, like, if they get more cards, then you have a way. Maybe this is just so much worse than I think it is. Because you showed me No, but that's not true at all, because you have shown me cards that discard cards, and they're pretty good. Also, seeing your opponent's hand's really good. And if I get more than two, I don't think they translated it 1-1. There's no way. Like, I think it's too good in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's also just not fun. It makes this. I said, like, I like mini games and games, but this is not even a mini game. Like, you're just getting fucked along, and this is sitting here. So I'd rather just lose the game in any other way than like my whole hand gets discarded by one card. That feels so bad. So yeah, I'm going with it and translate this 1-1. You sound like you did based on that the way you said that. But I'll stick with my guns. There's no way.
I will show you the actual version of Life Shaver. Give this a read.
You can only control one lifesaver. Once returned during your opponent's end phase, place one counter on this card. During the main or battle phase, if this card has counters on it, you can send this card to the graveyard and then make your opponent discard as many cards as possible up to the number of counters that were on the card. Okay, so it's basically 1-1. Like, it's almost 1-1.
It's yeah, so this is like when I was giving a preface for the audience. Like, it's basically 1-1, but not exactly. I think one of the biggest differences here is that it says during your opponent's end phase. So that means you, like, there is a world where you can, like, destroy this before it gets a counter, and then they're able to, like, not lose any cards off of it, right? Although, ironically, they lose a card destroying it. But in any case, it has to be face up, where, like, in the anime it says for each turn it's been set. Because if you think about it mechanically, we're not Hearthstone, so, like, how would you track how many turns, like, Life Shaver's been face down, right? Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to show you this, because I was thinking you would think, like, from the Hearthstone perspective, the tracking thing wouldn't even come to your, like, wouldn't even cross your mind.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Life Shaver was shown in the anime, like, very early on. It's in the second season that you haven't watched yet. But funny enough, they actually just printed this card, like, a year or two ago, if you can believe that.
Okay.
They did, like, this, they made, like, what is literally Kaiba's briefcase as a product that you can buy. And in the briefcase has, like, a deck that, like, Kaiba would play. And, like, there's some promo cards. And one of the promo cards, which is also, it's not a Kaiba card, it's a Yugi card, but it's just related, is Life Shaver. And so it was cool because people were like, oh, they're finally printing this card. This might shock you. This card's terrible. This card sees zero play whatsoever. It's just way too slow. If they printed this, like, back in the day, I actually think this card might have seen play because there weren't as many outs to a card like this. Games went on longer, and hand destruction, like, has been notoriously an archetype throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history before. And this is, like, another hand destruction card, even though it is a bit slower. So I think in old Yu-Gi-Oh, this card would have actually seen a ton of play. Nowadays, this card is this is nothing. This is just like a collector's piece, if anything. But a cool, interesting design, though. Interesting design.
I thought you were gonna say it was printed like a while ago and it was like turbo good. Because
no,
I agree with you.
Like I said, I think it would have been good in old Yu-Gi-Oh for sure.
Yeah, modern Yu-Gi-Oh, this is probably too slow. This briefcase that you're talking about, how much did that go for?
I want to say it was like $150 or $200. It was because it's like a collector piece sort of thing. You're not, like, carrying it around like Seto Kaiba. You just kind of, like, put it on display, like, in your house.
Oh wait, hold on. I just want to look it up. Hold on. Oh wait.
No, it's
nice.
like, it's straight up like his briefcase, like, from the anime. It's really cool. Like,
And
remember in the first episode
eyes?
when he shows Grandpa the cards because he wants to get the blue eyes? It's literally that briefcase. Yeah.
Holy shit! $400 Canadian.
Well, now because they don't make it anymore, people sell them on, like, on the secondary market, like, sealed. So now you have to pay, like, double for it.
No, it's even more on Amazon. Oh my god! So on the actual site, it
looks sick though. It looks sick.
It was cool. It was cool. Yeah, if you have, like, the nostalgia for it, yeah. Oh my god, $3,000.
That might be a bit much. I think, like, 400 is probably, like, around if you bought it secondhand, like what you'd pay for it.
Yeah, that's pretty okay.
But a cool card. I like the art on this card too. It's just really
it's good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Next up, here's your next card. You're doing pretty good though. You're doing pretty good. Let's see if you can keep it up. You should know this card as well.
I do know that card. Well, I think I do. Like Noxall back row, something along those lines, little spell cards.
Give us a read.
Yes, destroy all spells and trap cards your opponent controls. Okay, 100% this is real, right? It's like,
Well, I said all of these cards are in the actual game. Yes, they've all been printed.
Yeah, okay. I think the effect is 1-to-1. There is a card in the game. There's that like cave-looking monster face. I don't know what it's called, but I think destroys all monsters on the field.
Cave-looking monster.
If you,
what the fuck are you talking about?
okay, what is the
Are you
card?
talking about Cyberjar?
No. What's the card in older Yu-Gi-Oh that destroys all monsters on the field?
That's Dark Hole.
Yeah, wait, is it Dark Hole? Maybe I'll think of a different one. You know, I'll find it at some point. I think you showed me it a while ago. I'll have to scroll for about 8 years. Destroy all spell and trap cards. I feel like this
is too good for the actual game.
It is a good card. No, I feel like this is real though. I think I used this in Legacy of the Duelist. There's definitely a
But
card.
again, do you trust Legacy of the Duelist to port the actual card?
Oh, you don't think they did? Oh, interesting.
Yu-Gi-Oh games notoriously have like the wrong or different effects on cards in the video games than the actual game.
Okay. Now, are you saying that to bait me, or are you saying that?
I am stating a fact. You can do with that information what you will.
Well, see, the thing is, like, even if you're like, you're probably right, but also I think you use like the actual like anime character's deck.
Okay, this is my Valentine's card because she was the harpy person. So yes.
Did I play as my Valentine during the game? I don't think so. I think you only go against her. She's like,
she was typically like in the first season she was sort of a villain, but then like became like
at the end. At the end, yeah. Okay. God, it seems familiar though. There's definitely a card that does this somewhat similar. I think you showed me. I'll go through.
There are cards that are similar to this. Yes.
Okay, now that makes me wonder, do they print it like this? Okay, let me ask you a question. If it's like the effect is the exact same, but they called it something different, are you gonna be like, no?
I'm not gonna cheese you like that. No.
Okay, I'll think it's real then. I think they translated.
You think it's real?
I think it's real.
You think destroy all spell and traps your opponent controls, one-sided back row board wipe is ported directly into the game.
Just don't have a back row. What do you mean?
I mean, you're not wrong.
So we're fine.
In modern Yu-Gi-Oh, that's very true. You are correct.
This card does nothing on the field.
This is a direct port. This card, I don't know if you know this, you played it in Legacy of the Duels. This card was banned for, I want to say, maybe like 10 to 15 years. This card was extremely good. This was actually a promo from a video game, as a matter of fact. You had to buy a $30 video game to get this card initially. And there were other ways to get it as well, but that was like the first way I believe it was introduced into the game. But anyway, very good back in the day. They banned it very shortly after the ban list existed. Typically, they restricted cards to one before the ban list existed at all. And then when the ban list came out, I think this may have been one of the first cards on it. If not, it was like very shortly after. And it stayed banned for a very long time. Then they brought it off. I want to say, actually, let me look it up. When did they bring back Harpy's Feather Duster? It was 2020 they brought it back. So literally, I want to say 15 years it was on the ban list. They brought it back. This card sees play today. This card is very good. This card, it may not be main deck worthy all the time, but side deck, especially for games 2 and 3, this card will see a ton of play because it is a one-sided back row board wipe, which is very important against some decks. No other card does what this card does, except for like one other card that's reciprocal. It blows up both of your, so it's like the dark hole of spell and traps, if you will. But if you have no spell and traps, it's basically another copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. But yeah, just an exceptionally good card, very iconic card from the anime. A lot of people like it, and you got it correct. Good job.
Let's go. Okay. I think Legacy of the Duelist actually was like pretty smart.
I think so. I think it helped you with some of these, because some of these are very iconic cards that I thought I would show you. Try to trip you up. Okay. This is also from the anime. However, you've not seen this card because you were not nearly that far into the anime.
Okay. Well, all these cards are from the anime, so you don't have to say that.
Well, different parts of the anime.
Okay. What the fuck is this? Okay. Gandora, the Dragon of Destruction. Is that how
Oh shit, I'm playing the wrong deck.
Correct.
Okay. At the end of the turn,
whatever.
Gandora, the Dragon of Destruction is normal summon. Goes to the graveyard. By paying half the player's life, you can remove from play all monsters on the field. Okay, hold on. So this is in your hand. At the end of your turn, it is normal summoned. Does that mean in the same instance it has to go to the graveyard, or does it mean like at any point in time if it goes to the graveyard? No, sorry, that means it gets normal summoned and then it goes to the graveyard immediately.
At the end of the turn.
At the end
So,
of the
like, during your main phase 1 or 2, you can normal summon it, and then at the end of that turn, it will go to the graveyard. So these are two separate effects here.
Okay, so it doesn't get like auto summoned at the end of the turn then.
No. You have to.
play it.
Yeah, correct.
How many? Okay, so you can't. It's not like a. You have to sacrifice something to play this.
It is a level 8, so
Two.
correct.
That's
it,
two monsters to sacrifice one. I don't know.
Correct. Correct. You're learning.
By paying half the player's life, you can remove and play all monsters on the field. What the fuck?
Okay, so does that mean like while it's on the field you can do this, or does that mean like at any point in time it's in the graveyard you can do this?
So not in the graveyard, no. So you would tribute summon it out with 2 monsters, right? And then you can pay half your life points and just banish all monsters on the field. That would include itself. So otherwise, if you didn't do that, it would just at the end of the turn go to the graveyard. So basically, they're like forcing you to use this effect like when you summon it. Otherwise, you're just going to lose out.
But you can just pull it back from the graveyard, no? And then
it banishes itself because it says all monsters on the field.
right, but
So you can pull it back from the banish pile too. Yeah, I'm not saying. Well,
but
yeah.
if you don't use this effect, right, it goes to your graveyard. Like at any point you needed to resummon it to do this, you could. If it just sits in your graveyard.
Theoretically.
Is that too good, or is that too?
Is that too good? You're talking about board wipes. Here you go.
That's interesting. I don't know if that's good. Like, okay, depending on when this is printed, if this is current Yu-Gi-Oh, it's probably dog. Like, there's no way this is playing. There's no way this is played. So that means an older Yu-Gi-Oh is half your life points worth putting this card in your deck, sacrificing minions or cheating it out somehow to get it on the board to full clear.
It is very anime. And I will say, you haven't obviously gotten to this part in the anime. I don't know if you ever will. It is a very epic moment in this duel with this card itself.
Yeah, I just feel like, okay, answer me this question. In the anime, when this card is played, are the characters going against this player who's playing it shocked? Like they didn't know it existed? Or is it like, you actually have this card in your deck? You know what I mean? Like, what was the reaction to this card?
So this is a Yugi card. I'll give you some context. This is a Yugi card. And basically, this card wins him. I would say.
Yugi and winning the game? I'm shocked.
But it's an anime card. It's an anime card. You can do that with any card, to be fair.
That is true. That is true. I just don't know if this is good enough to even see played. So if I don't think it's good enough, they could have just translated it over. I'm trying to think of, I'm just trying to think of like, you would either need to cheat this out. You've shown me some crazy stuff, so that's where I'm coming from. So you'd either need to cheat this out, or you just mill it or something, goes into your graveyard, and then at some point you're like, you have to resurrect it, and then you just kill the minion into the board. I think there's easier ways of doing that you've shown me already, and there's also just better win cons, I believe. So like, if that's how I think of it, I feel like they could easily translate this over 1-to-1.
Okay.
I don't think it's broken. I don't think it's unfun. It's something to think about, and like as long as it's just not. I mean, even if they cheated out, like what's the worst that's gonna happen? They clear your board once. Like I feel like we've seen so many at this point. Yeah, it's probably fine. I think they can translate it over. It's cool. It's also flashy in real life, so I'll go with the translated 1-1.
Let's show you the real game. I think his art looks way better than the anime.
I would 100% agree with you. Maybe it's.
He looks sick. He looks sick.
Okay. Cannot be special summoned. You can pay half your life points to destroy as many cards in the field as possible, other than this card, and if you do, banish them. This card gains 300 attack for each card destroyed this way. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was normal or flip summon this turn, send it to the graveyard. Yeah, how much of a translation is that?
I mean, so it's a bit different. It's a bit different. So the biggest difference here, there's two actually. First is that it cannot be special summoned. So in the anime version, theoretically you could cheat it out. I don't believe Yugi cheats it out. I think he just actually tribute summons it. But this actually has the text cannot be special summoned. So you have to actually tribute summon this card for one. However, Gandora actually doesn't banish itself, which is very important because it also then gains a bunch of attack after everything it banishes. So hypothetically, you and your opponent can each have like 4 or 5 monsters on the field, which then means this thing goes up to like 3,000 attack or something like that. And you saw the battle phase, you can hypothetically just smash your opponent in the face before this card would go to the graveyard, or you can send it, for a myriad of other summoning mechanics or like whatever. So technically, like, it's hard to say if they made it better or worse. I think it would be better in the anime because you can cheat it out, and I think that would make it a lot more playable. But you are correct. This card is not very good and basically has never seen play. There's a version of Gandora that has seen play, but it was a much more broken card comparatively.
Okay. Wait, so you're thinking because you could special summon the one from the anime is better?
I think if you could bin this to the graveyard and resurrect it and have the ability to just banish all monsters on the field, that would have been playable 100%. Yep.
Okay, I can see it.
That might even be playable today, to be honest with you. If there was a way to like easily cheat this thing out just to have that effect, because it doesn't target, it doesn't destroy. Banishing like stuff is very good against most decks, and it's a board wipe. So honestly, I do think this card would see play. The comments can argue with me otherwise, but I think it actually would be good against
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
But you got it right for the most part. Like, it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but it's basically the same. So, all right, next up.
Ties of the Brethren. Pay 1,000 life points to special summon up to 2 level 4 monsters from your hand or deck with the same type as a monster you control. Those monsters cannot be attacked or be tribute.
Neat little card.
I'm thinking, okay, in Hearthstone, I don't know, again, we always have these conversations. I don't know what 1,000 translates to, but whatever the number may be.
So 1,000 would be an eighth of your life. So in Hearthstone, that would be what, like 5, no, like 4 life?
4, 3?
Yeah. 3 would be a 10th, so maybe 4 or 5.
4 to, okay.
Pay 4 life to get 2 minions. I mean,
so in Druid has a card that is called Oaken Summons, which is 4 mana. You get 6 armor, and you could summon a minion that costs 4 or less.
Okay,
from your deck,
that's an interesting
from your deck. That card was fucking giga nuts for a while.
Okay,
very good card. You can also just tutor your or build your deck in such a way that you're only summoning 4 cost minions. And that was very, very good for a while. Even in Wild, it was actually playable for a little bit, depending on what you were going for. The problem ends up being is as minions get better, it becomes worse. Now, this is 2 minions. We did not have the caveat of that minion cannot attack or be tributed, even though that's on the game. But the fact that it can't attack is really interesting. So you want to play minions that have really good effects. Do you get to pick the minions from your deck and or hand? I'm guessing you do.
That
is really interesting. This seems like a good card. Like, I think paying 1,000 life points for 2 minions, even if you're from your deck, the worst case scenario they can use to block, or they're just thinning your deck in a sense, or finding something specifically that you want for like a specific effect. Because like you've shown me things like if you have this card on the board, like this can happen. So like that seems fine. Is it too good? Is the question?
Is it too good?
That is what it comes down to. Because I think this is good. I'm pretty sure you get this played.
I will let you know. I don't want to.
It's too good. How much of a problem is it that your minions can't contribute and they can't attack? I mean, it's probably annoying, but again, Yu-Gi-Oh uses so many like effects that are too powerful that I don't think you care.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's too good that they want to know. Who uses this card? Can I ask that question? I feel like that's a good question to ask.
That's a good question, because honestly, I don't remember.
Okay, it's a fucking random.
Let me figure it out. While you keep spinning your gears, let me figure it out.
I'm trying to get. Who's the reptile in this game? Or in the show? Evil's the bug guy. And this raptor, or whatever the hell his name is, these dinosaurs. I don't know if it's the same thing.
Oh, Yugi uses it. Okay.
Classic. It's always Yugi using the dumb shit. Okay. Yugi uses this.
He's the protagonist. He has to get the dumb shit.
I mean, this is a broken game. Yugi has this card. You know this card's Giga, so. God, I don't know if they would want to translate this over. It just sounds too good. But I can't like. I talked about Pot of Greed earlier. Like it's too good. Like, is this fun? I'd have fun. I played this. I guess that kind of matters. Do I feel like an anime protagonist if this is 1-to-1? Not really. Kind of like a whatever effect. It's just very good. I can see it, but I also I don't know.
You're torn on this one. You're torn on this one.
I feel like the effect is good. So it comes down to like, do they actually think it's too good to translate it 1-to-1? Because it's not like a splashy card. I'm not saying you're like, holy shit, like, look how cool this is in the anime. Like, this is just, Yugi plays this and he just wins the duel. So I don't know if I would want that in the game as like someone who's a big fan of the anime. Which makes me think they wouldn't translate it 1-to-1, but also like, if it's not that, I mean, it's a good card, but it's not that broken where it's like, I couldn't see it. It was kind of like a 50-50. I'm gonna guess this is too good, and then they thought like we probably need to change this because it's gonna just work for you. And this does.
Final answer?
I'll go final answer. Yeah, I don't think it's one.
Okay, why don't you read the actual ties of the
Pay 2,000 life points, then target one level 4 monster lower you control. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters. Also, special summon 2 monsters from your deck with the same type attribute level as that monster, but with different names from each other and that monster. You're not conduct your battle phase this turn. Turn you activate this card. Okay, so it's like kind of, it's a little bit more steep.
You got it right on the money. It is the anime version of this would have been broken as fuck, just straight up.
That's yeah. It's
So yeah, you were right. So Ties of the Brethren was severely nerfed when it came to us in the TCG. This is another one that came like a lot later. I want to say, I think it was like big Yu-Gi-Oh! Is when they printed this card, like 2015, 16-ish. I might be wrong, but I think it was around that time. This card is very good. It doesn't see play in every deck, but it does see play in very specific decks that meet the requirements for this card. Because one of the biggest differences is that it has to be same type, attribute, and level as the monster. And unless like there's only very specific decks, especially because it has to be like level 4 or lower as well. There's only very specific decks that can play this card, but then also don't care about the fact that you can't do any more special summoning in the same turn. So there's very heavy restrictions on this card because the anime version was broken as fuck. You also can't attack the same turn, but like honestly, the decks that play this don't care because they're usually like trying to like stun you out from playing the game, or just doing some other like degenerate thing. So like the decks that play this are not necessarily like fun decks, if you will.
okay. Yeah, it makes sense. No, there's a card in Hearthstone called, I'm sure I've showed it. It's called Call to Arms, which is
I don't know if you have showed it to me.
3 mana for
Hey,
Paladin. 3 mana for Paladin. I think it's, wait, it's 4 mana? 4 mana. 3 mana would be broken. I can't remember. I think it's 4 mana. 4 mana to summon 3 minions that cost 2 or less. And that card in Wild is I don't know if it still is, was to pull like cards that just stop your opponent from playing the game. So like there's another card that says, while this minions on the board, Battlecry minions cost 2 more mana, I think. And you just summon like 2 of those and you just negate like half the decks in the game.
Yeah, it's very similar to Ties of the Brethren, where you're playing like these stun cards that all happen to have the same type, attribute, and level, and it's like, all right, you play one of them, you ties out the other 2, and now your opponent's like in the no fun zone. It's very, it's very
Okay.
nice.
Okay, I was gonna say that.
But it's a good card. In the decks that can play it, it is very good. It's just very narrow what decks can actually play it. So you got it right. It was too good. They had to nerf it. So good job. You were worried about this episode. You're killing it.
Thank you.
All right, next up, I have to keep, I have to keep you going. So here you go.
Mystical Ref Panel. Activate only when a spell card that targets one player is activated. The effect of that spell card is applied to the other player instead. Wow, that is incredibly.
Tell us why that's incredibly interesting.
Hold on, I'm trying to. When I read an effect, I'm like, could they print this in Hearthstone? Activate when the spell. Okay, if I had a secret.
So this would be a secret in Hearthstone. It's a trap card.
Yeah, so it'd be counter the spell card, recast it, recast it for your opponent's board. I guess they would word it, something along those lines.
So it would be like, for instance, give me like a generic spell from Hearthstone. I would know.
Deal 6 damage.
Any spell. Okay,
Fireball.
deal 6 damage. So if you like activate deal 6 damage, it would trigger the secret of Mystical Ref Panel, and now you would get to deal 6 damage to like one of your opponent's things instead.
Right, I
think
can
the
just
Hearthstone
negate
mechanically,
the Light
because you
Dragon
can
at
interact with
Ignister
your opponent, so
instead.
I don't know how if they would, because like if I'm dealing the damage, that actually could matter for specific cards. That's why I'm trying to think of how they would word it. But mechanically, that's like such a small thing. But that's a card I could see them play. They've made cards in Hearthstone that are like when an opponent attacks your face, summon a copy of it that also hits your face. So like it's not out of the world where like this is actually printable in Hearthstone, which makes me believe this is very easy to translate to use.
This is I would say this is maybe out of everything I've shown you, this is like the most Hearthstone card I think.
Yeah, I also think I don't know how people feel about Secrets of Hearthstone. A lot of people don't like them. I'm actually a huge fan of them as long as they're not just like outright broken.
How come they're not fans of it?
Well, some of them are just fucking stupid. So like Ice Block is like insane. Like that shouldn't be in the game. At least you shouldn't be able to cast more than one. There's also like Objection, which I'm sure I've showed you, which just literally
You showed
says,
me Objection.
Yeah, which that one's just dumb because you can't you have to play a minion into it, and it feels so miserable to play into it. I like the ones that are like there's one for Hunter that I think is really well designed, which is I forget what it's called. If you play a weapon, it checks to see if you play a weapon, spell, or minion. If I play a minion, my opponent then draws who cast the spell. They draw a spell and a weapon. And if you play a weapon, then I draw a weapon and a spell. So you can test that. You can test that in a variety of different ways. You can also think about what I don't want my opponent to draw. If you play into it, it's not like the worst thing in the world. But there's like that cool little like mini game of deciding what you actually want to do with it. And I feel
I
like
think this is why people like trap cards. Yu-Gi-Oh though is because I say for the most part, aside from some of the most egregious examples, people like the mini game of testing for certain cards in certain metagames to be like, okay, I did this thing. They didn't like, because the big difference is with Yu-Gi-Oh is that we can choose when to use our secrets, right? So you can like deduce by doing certain actions, okay, this thing stuck, so they don't have like X, Y, or Z. And then you do like your next action that kind of checks for like a different type of card, right? Where Hearthstone is interesting because you have to like play certain cards that might bait those cards out because it automatically triggers. Where Yu-Gi-Oh, we get to like choose manually when to like force that activation. So that's really interesting. You say that.
I think if you go look at the secrets in Classic Hearthstone, I think they're really well designed. All of them are really well designed.
Interesting. Okay.
It's aside
from Ice Block.
Aside from Ice Block is just too good. Like it's just too good in the game. It's just too good.
Can't die. It's crazy.
It's too good of a card. Like the amount of games where you're like, I win this, and then they just pop. Like if they randomly generate that shit, like oh my god, just stop playing the game. Okay, anyway, sorry. Before I get sidetracked, this card seems fine. I don't think it's broken. I actually think it's really unique because, like you said, in Yu-Gi-Oh specifically, rather than me playing towards the secret, I decide when I want to use this. And that means that you could take the gambit of like, I don't think this spell's worth it. I'm going to wait until they play something better, which I think is really well, like, I think that's really cool. And then obviously, like worst case scenario, if your opponent plays the feather that you showed me, it's a spell card, right? Yeah. When they play the spell card, you're like, aha, idiots. Should have thought about that. And then like now they're fucking crying. So like it's cool.
What about Pot of Greed, Rare?
Oh, Pot of Greed would also be insane.
Think about it. They Pot of Greed, you copy Pot of Greed, they don't get it. I don't know.
I actually think this. Yeah, I was gonna say I actually think this card might be broken. Like I think what makes secrets so well designed in Hearthstone is the fact that my opponent gets to play for them. The fact that you get to decide when I get to proc this is insane. That might be too good, and I think that gives you too much like potential to just win the game out of nowhere. Now, to be fair, like if it's translated, it might be because it doesn't make like the problem I see with this is like if I go first and this is set, my opponent's life and if they know that this isn't the game is miserable because now they have to be like, okay, I have to play this really good card first to see if they want to take that one. So hopefully they do, and then I can play the other one. But then if they don't take it, and now you're sitting there like, oh fuck, but what if he's not just playing? It sounds so good. No, it sounds actually insane. I think the fact that my opponent plays into it in Hearthstone make this not as broken.
Because like you can forcibly play a spell, it triggers it, and then you can play your other spell. Where like in Yu-Gi-Oh, we can pick to wait for the second spell.
Yeah, I also think in Hearthstone, because of just how things are designed, it's a lot more forgiving, and I mean that in like, let's say I'm playing the coin into this, and that's the first spell I cast, and my opponent gets that immediately. They don't actually get to use that mana, right? Like they just cast it on like my turn, but they just get the mana for my turn, and then the turn's over, and they got nothing. So I'm playing that into that. Where like in Yu-Gi-Oh, again, I get to use the effect potentially because I get to play on my opponent's turn, which is even better. So I'm pretty sure this is broken now. I'm just gonna ask this: who plays this card? Is it Yugi?
It's Yugi.
Okay, yeah. So like, it's probably broken. like especially in the anime, like this is probably just winning in the game. So
did they have to nerf it?
This would feel the most anime out of like any card you've shown me so far. I'm gonna be honest. Like I feel like this is protagonist level stuff. Like I'm playing this card. This card single-handedly wins me the game, depending on when I decide to play it. Which you're probably very like likely to play, especially because what you can play like 3 copies of this. Oh my god! Imagine having 3 in your back row. Your opponent's crying their fucking eyes out. Holy! Yeah, they have to. This card's too good. This card's broken. This card has to be broken too good. I would be shocked if you said they didn't nerf this and they translated 1-to-1. Too good.
Why don't you read it and tell us?
No way. Activate only when a spell card that targets one player is active. One player, okay. The effect of the spell card is applied to the other player. Wow, they really translated it 1-to-1, and now you're gonna tell me it's not good.
Correct, it's not good. It's crazy to okay, so it's so funny because you went through the experience that everyone has when they first see this card. There are so many times where, since this card has been printed, that people look at the game and they're like, but Mystical Ref Panel's fucking crazy, bro. And it's like, it's just not good. So let me give you some context here. One thing that's really cool about this card is actually the fact it copies the effect. So if there's a card that requires you to pay you remember Pot of Desires, right? Where you banish 10 to draw 2 from your deck? missing a ref panel, you don't have to banish the 10 to draw 2. So they banish 10 and you draw 2 cards, which sounds crazy, right? It sounds broken. The biggest problem is it's a trap card. It's just kind of slow. It's also really weird because since it says targets 1 player, Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't like say when cards target a player like Hearthstone does. It's kind of like implicit. And so there's a lot of like rulings issues with this card. Like if you look at like all of the cards have like a big like rulings page. Ref panel is one of like the most notorious ones where it's like you think the card works in certain ways, but then it actually doesn't, which is really frustrating. But also that's just the fact that it's a trap card. It's kind of just slow at the end of the day. And maybe your opponent doesn't play a spell that you want to ref panel. It sounds like it's like the craziest card ever, but it's just it's funny that it doesn't pan out the way that it does. And you went through the experience that everyone has experienced with this card because everyone thinks it's batshit crazy. People speculate on it with the secondary market all the time, but it's not it. This card is like basically it's seen very little play. I will say it hasn't seen any play, but very, very little play.
I'm shocked. Oh, I can't believe it. I actually can't believe it. Because like I can't even think what the worst case scenario would be for this card. Because I guess it's like your opponent literally doesn't play spell cards, which I guess happens.
Well, again, it has to be cards that target 1 player as well. And so not all spell cards like target the player. Like a card like Pot of Greed, for instance, targets the player, but it doesn't say that, right? So there's plenty of other spell cards that like do things that don't interact with like the player itself, and so that limits like how good this card is. If this card just said like to activate any spell card, then honestly it would probably be a lot better. But the fact that only is for targets 1 player, that's like the biggest difference.
Okay, I think Magic the Gathering actually ruined this card for me. Because what I thought it meant was, like in Magic, there's often moments where it says like, pick 1 player and then do this to their board or some shit, right? Like that's the language they use, something along those lines. Hearthstone and Yu-Gi-Oh, because they're both 1v1 games, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh has like a multi or than like a 4-player game. I'm trying to think if they do.
They're trying to. Some of the fans are trying to make like our own commander. Yeah, but
Okay.
that's like all we have.
So like inherently speaking, it almost seems like you're just targeting a player every single time you play a card. Like unless it's like beneficial for you or whatever you're doing. So like in my opinion, the way I read that was if you're gonna destroy my board because you're taking me as the player that's gonna be the board that's gonna get destroyed, I'm gonna reverse Uno you there. And then be like, now your board's gone. That's how I understood it. So, like, I can see what you mean, because if the card specifically has to interact with me as a player, not just my board, then it's a completely different scenario.
Absolutely.
I also think, though, like, even you said it's slow as a trap card. I think if it just said, like, reflect the spell, doesn't matter if it interacts with the player, like how I interpreted it, which, again, I'm not saying this is code or anything, like, I could have clearly got it wrong. But I think it would be a lot better. Like, I think, like...
100%. It would be way more playable if it was just copy any spell and reflect that, and, like, negate the first activation. 100%. I agree with you for sure. I still think because it's a trap, it would still be maybe too slow. However, it would have way more utility if you could do... And it's weird, because, like I said, the rulings on this card are very, like, complicated, because, like, if you look... There are cards you think that would work with it that don't, and vice versa, and it's just like this very like mystifying card. I don't know like why, but it's just like I think it's because Yu-Gi-Oh's wording on cards is like so bad in some instances. It's not as like obvious as like it should be for like what this card is good with and what it's not. But it's a cool card from the anime thing. The art really sick. A lot of people love the art.
I guarantee in Yu-Gi-Oh! 2, they were probably like, they didn't even care about the fucking target 1 player rule. It's just like, you saw like the spell, they're like, yeah, that's the one.
Pretty much. I pretty much, that's like exactly how it works.
Okay.
All right. Next one, I'm not going to be showing it to you in the typical template because there wasn't a good version of it. So I'm going to show you, someone made like an anime version of this card with the anime effects. So I will give you this.
Oh my god. This the seal of Orthicos?
Orichalcos. Pretty close.
Like Caligos. There's a card in Hearthstone that's called Caligos. I'm probably good at that, but anyways. The spell card is impervious to negation, destruction, and removal. Increase the attack power of all your monsters by 500 attack. You control a back row of monsters that cannot be attacked while monsters in front of you. Oh, interesting. Okay. So this is like taunting for your back row minions. Send this card from your hand to the graveyard to negate and destroy any card, the soul of whichever being uses this duel is the perfect winner. The soul.
So the last part, we're not going to count the last part for the translation of like 1-to-1.
That's pretty.
But yeah, no. So the whole fourth arc, or the whole fourth season of the first arc, which was like a filler arc, that's like this is like the main card that the villains use. They're trying to like steal the souls of duelists to like do something. I don't want to spoil it too much, but this is the card. This is like the main card of that series, and it's I don't know. It's very iconic.
That's funny.
People know it.
Well, I gotta reread it. The spell card is impervious to negation, destruction, and removal. Okay. Increase the attack power of all your monsters by 500. That's fine. You control a back row of monsters that cannot be attacked while a monster's in front row. So does that mean that, like, I'm just trying to think mechanically, like, that means monsters will sit on your, like, where your spell and trap cards are, or is there like a new spot that opens up?
So you can put monsters in your spell and trap zone while this card is active. And then basically all the minions in the front row, the main monster zones, all basically taunt the minions that are like behind them. Not like in the exact column, but like you'd have to kill all the things in the front row before you can even touch the things in the back row.
Oh, okay, interesting. Why would you? So in Yu-Gi-Oh, you decide what you're attacking. So I guess like this is to protect a very specific thing. Okay. Send this card from your hand to the graveyard to negate and destroy any card. I mean, that line of text is great. So I mean,
so that would be if you had like if you didn't have it in play, you could like if you had a second copy of it, you could do that.
You guys have a counterspell in this game? You guys do, right? We've seen like Ash.
We have many.
Yeah. So like, is that like a unique? Okay. So how important is it to have a back row of monsters that are protected from the monsters in front? That is an extremely...
Not to mention you can have 10 monsters on the field instead of 5. That's kind of important.
Is that actually important? I was trying to think of like, do you really need that many monsters? I guess maybe. I guess it's a cool mechanic.
One of the biggest limiting factors, and you have this in Hearthstone, you can only have 7 monsters. Like we can only have 5, so technically 6. But yeah, it's having having double the amount of monster zones available to us. That can open up some possibilities.
I just have not really, I guess, paid attention to any Yu-Gi-Oh deck that wants to have more than 5 monsters, but I guess because that's like you're building the deck for that. It's really interesting. Sure. In Hearthstone, like often, obviously,
think about like. Oh no, I was gonna say. So think about it like in the context of if there's a card that says special summon as many monsters as possible. Right now, instead of 5, you can get 10. Or there's a thing that's like special summon as many tokens as possible. Now instead of 5, you get 10. Like I know there's cards in Hearthstone that do that. So like the extra board space, you know, that could matter.
Sure. It's funny how. There's a line that people say for Hearthstone cards sometimes, which is like, you guys are trying so hard to be Yu-Gi-Oh! It's ridiculous. Just those lines.
It's funny.
Like that, you're actually right. Like I guess it's like I had infinite board space, and there's a card that says like fill your board. Like it'd be so fucking funny to see like every minion from my deck just
because like Magic has infinite board space.
Yes,
like Magic you can have like
crazy.
4,000 tokens or whatever, right? So like we have guardrails in that regard.
You're not wrong. It's actually the first time I was like really into Magic. Watching all the tokens be summoned is like insane because there's just so much going on at that point.
Like we can't do that. Right?
And then my chat was like, listen, at this point, like let them do the block or like let them do the math. Like you're not gonna do any of this math. Just fucking full set. I'm like you're so right. That's actually a really interesting mechanic. Okay, so I obviously wasn't emphasizing that at all. Like I was gonna say a counter spell from the hand's pretty good, but I'm sure like you guys already have that.
We do. Like remember we have hand traps too, so like those are kind of like counter spells in a way. Right?
This can also and also like this you can't interact with this. Once this is played on the board, like this is just there for the rest of the game, I guess, which is kind of cool. I don't know how much increasing your attack power of like your monster by 500 really matters. I'm sure it could, but for the most part, I guess you are literally playing it for the fact that you can run 10 monsters. Yu-Gi-Oh as a game, do they actually care about that?
Great question.
Mechanically, does that break the game? I guess it would. But how the fuck is Hearthstone not made a card like this? Your board space can now go up to 8. Like,
Send it to your guys that you know.
How are they
the
not?
Dev team.
This is free real estate for design. Like, how have they not done this? Like, it doesn't seem like it'd be broken. I think a lot of people would love this. Interesting. I mean, I kind of hope this is real because it's cool. Like, it's a cool effect.
Well, it is real. It may not be the exact effect necessarily, but it is real.
Oh my god, I want this to be real. Okay, let me think about this in actuality. Is this broken? Okay, in Yu-Gi-Oh, I just gotta clarify mechanics here. You can have the same monster more than once on your board. I believe that is the case.
We do not have a legend. Yeah.
So yeah, you could have like 3 barons as long as it wasn't like whatever. You know what
limited,
I mean?
like by the restricted list. Yeah, sure.
So if I got just a bunch of like cards on the field that stop my opponent from playing the game from just effect with one other card, like that seems very cool. I could see this being there. I just don't know if I would.
it's so cool and unique that I'm hoping they say, like, you know what, fuck it, let's just send it. Then they nerfed it after. I'll go if they translated it 1-to-1. I actually think this is really cool. So I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it, yeah.
All right, give a read to the actual Seal of Orichalcos.
Please. All monsters. Oh, so they got rid of the very first line of text. Okay. Okay, all monsters you control gain 500 attack. Once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay, interesting. So you can start 2 or more face-up attack position monsters. Your opponent cannot target your monsters with the lowest attack for an attack. What? Your opponent cannot target your monsters with the lowest attack for. Oh, okay, for an attack. Yeah. When this card is activated, destroy all special summon monsters you control. You cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck. You can only activate this once per turn. Once per duel. Oh, I'm sorry. What the? Okay, it's not the same card.
It's not the same card. It's
Once
not,
per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. While you control 2 or more face-up attack position monsters, your opponent cannot target your monster with the lowest attack for an attack.
Is this card ass? Like, what is this?
It is not good. It is not good. Yeah. The only time this card has ever seen play, it's very fun for the theme here. There are some stun decks that actually like this card because the attack boost means that the monsters that have the stun effects are harder to kill in battle. So that's beneficial. They don't care about the extra deck. They don't care about special summoning, so those are irrelevant to them. And then also, if they get multiple monsters on the field, instead of having the 10 monster zones, they kind of replace that with you have to attack the highest attack point monster first before you attack a lower attack point monster. Which is kind of lame, but it is what it is. I think if they printed the Seal Orichalcos with the 10 monster zone thing, that would be broken as fuck. But okay. I will say, there are plenty of other cards and mechanics and archetypes that allow you to put monsters into your spell and trap zone. Now, they're not monsters. They're treated as spell cards while they're there, but you can special summon them from that zone to your actual monster zone. So we kind of have that mechanic, but not really. And there's not a singular card that enables it. It's it has to be within that archetype's gimmick, if you will. So we didn't get the OP version of the Seal Orichalcos. People like it because this card's very symbolic, but for the most part, we got the severely nerfed version of it that only stun decks have. So it's very sad, but yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was rooting for it.
Yeah, I was rooting for it too. I'll be honest with you. I was rooting for it too. Okay, we only got a couple left here. Somebody. Let's see what you think.
Yowie? Yowie?
Yeah.
You're trying to summon your opponent skips their next draw phase. Oh god. I'm going back here. I feel like you showed me a card that just works.
I have showed you Time Seal. Time Seal is a trap card that says your opponent skips their next draw phase.
Okay, but this card's infinitely worse because it can just be resummoned, no? Does it?
I don't know. You tell us.
I'm assuming either the following thing will work, where you. I wonder. Okay, I was gonna say, does it stack? If I summon this monster 10 times in a turn, do they skip their next 10 draw phases, or they're just totally skipping the next one? You know what I mean? So
that is an interesting. Let me actually look up. There's another card I'm gonna look up here that actually does stack. I'm gonna see how not for this type of effect. I'm gonna look it up to see if it's worded similarly because there is a world where it does stack, and there's a world that it doesn't. Let me see here. This card says skips your opponent's next battle phase. Does it say next? Your opponent's next draw. Yes, so it would stack. Correct.
in older Yu-Gi-Oh, players are in shambles.
Well, we basically had this in the not this card, but we had Time Seal. So I will give you this. Time Seal is one of the first cards we printed. Yyyy was not given to us in the game until 2021. As a matter of fact.
There's no way they printed this card what it is. There's still no way. There's still no way.
What if it's too slow? What if it's too slow?
Yeah, I guess. Okay. God, if this was OG Yu-Gi-Oh, I think this would be pretty good. You could play this and then tribute summon or some shit. I don't know. Discard that.
Okay, so final answer.
Hold on, I'm trying to. In New Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh's draw phase is still probably good. It's not nearly as punishing as it would have been in other Yu-Gi-Oh. Because now there's so many ways around it. You can draw so many cards from your deck in so many different ways. Okay. So it's not the worst thing in the world anymore.
Sure, I'll give you that. I think in a newer Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not nearly as punishing.
So I just feel do they want this in the game? Yeah, you told me Time Seal, but as far as I am aware, it's a lot harder to just get the same effect going every single turn if it's a trap card, right? This is easier because you can send to your graveyard, resummon it, do a bunch of shenanigans with it, and then resummon it again. It's your opponent's just miserable. Now, in like current Yu-Gi-Oh, is that really much of a problem? Probably not, but I'm gonna probably hope that Konami's smart enough to realize like you probably don't want this affecting your game. But I mean, again, like who gives a fuck if like you're dying on turn 1? Like what do they care? So I guess it's fine.
Not
like
wrong.
sure, like okay, it's fine. I'll go with it's fine. Like sure, it's fine.
All right, give Yowie a read.
Card is summoned. No other cards. No other cards. In fact, this effect, your opponent skips their next draw phase. You can only special summon this once the turn you activate this. Yeah, see, like there you go. Like they had the
You missed
hard
the
cap.
once per duel part too.
They had to hard cap this shit like pretty.
Yep.
Like obviously this would be stupid as fuck. Like there's no way. So yeah. Okay.
You almost thought it was fine. Actually no, you did think it was fine. You're like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. So you got it wrong technically.
Hey, I said they translated it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, you were trying to goad me, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I got it right. No, you did.
That seems like, God, that's so funny. In Hearthstone, this would be, is that good? Hearthstone has cards, like, do you guys have cards in your game that, like, shuffles random shit into your opponent's deck and then they can potentially draw it?
Very rarely. There's only a few cards that do that.
Okay, so Hearthstone's done that, and it's like, this is the same effect, because you're, like, I'm not gonna say you skip your draw phase, but you skip your draw phase, because you're drawing, like, a 1/1 shitter that does absolutely nothing.
Yeah. They basically learned, though, that, like, historically, I've shown you Yatagarasu, I've shown you Time Seal. Like, preventing the opponent from drawing is just not fun and interactive at all. So they just, like, they printed this card, I think, for the anime fans, and they just really, really, like, put the restrictions on it. So it's like, you can do it one time, and maybe it'll be crazy, but that's it. So it's funny, because Yada's legal again, and this card got printed. Yada, you can do it every single turn, but whatever. All right, next up.
Relay Soul. Activate only when your life points become 0. Special summon one monster from your hand. You lose the duel when the special summon monster is destroyed. What the fuck? So dead card unless very specific requirement is met. Wait a minute, I see the dream.
Okay.
You get to 0. You get to 0. You pick a card that says cannot be destroyed or like anything. Like it just has that line of text. Now you can never die. Like your opponent can't play the game. They can't interact with that card. And that's it. That's it. The game's over. Like then your opponent just decides whether or not they want to go through the motions of like, wait. If you draw through your whole deck and this card's still on the field, you lose.
That is a very interesting question, actually. Let me look up the ruling and see exactly what
Because if this is okay, you've shown me cards, even though it's absolutely ridiculous to get to the point of like summoning them. But if you do summon them, they said like your opponent can't kill this, or like this can't be destroyed or whatever. Play that thing. Your opponent can't interact with it. They can't win the game, and then that's what Yu-Gi-Oh is now, right? Like that's just how. The question is how the fuck.
you're not wrong. Yeah.
How do you get to 0? What a weird thing to say. That is so interesting. There's no way
I want to say if you mill out, you still lose. The judges and the brain trust in the comments will correct me, but I think if you mill out, you still lose the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with they didn't translate this 1-to-1 because I just feel like this is just not how they wanted. This is an anime thing for sure. Because it's like,
Yeah,
oh
of
my
course.
god, your opponent, you got to 0 life points, you lose, you're banished to the Shadow Realm, and then Yugi says psych, pulls out this card, and then like the opponent's like, holy shit, there's no way, and then they lose. I can see that. I don't think they want this.
I'll let you know it is a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Plastic. No, I'll say it's not. I don't think it's translated. I think it's too,
All right.
like, very too niche. Yeah,
There you go.
Special summon one monster from your hand. When it's face up on your field, you take no damage. When it leaves the field, your opponent wins 2.
Okay, so takes no damage is different than you can't leave the game.
Correct. Very good.
100%.
You also don't have to wait till your life points is 0, though.
Cool card. Very cool card.
I think
So
it's
it's
the
not an
anime
exact
it's so much
translation.
better.
It also says
Yeah.
when it leaves the field. So the thing about it not being able to be destroyed, they made sure that was taken care of in that too.
Oh, wait, so that means like if I had the minion on board and then it was just like moved to my deck, it's technically not destroyed, so therefore I'm like still fine.
That's a different story because it's, well, no, Relay Soul would still be on the field. So yes, that would, wait, no, it wouldn't be on the field. But yes, so if it leaves the field, yes, Relay Soul should activate and you would be able to take damage again.
Okay.
But also if it gets like bounced to the hand, if it gets banished, like there's a million ways to undo it. Versus like it just not being able to be destroyed, or when it's destroyed. So they accounted for that. This card's bad. This card is like, there's like some gimmicky things you can do with it, but it's never like CK. It's okay. Take care of it.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we're getting to the last few.
What a weird ass card. Is Sanctity? Okay. Each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand.
Ooh. Hearthstone, hold on. There's a card in Hearthstone called Glide for Demon Hunter. That card is 4 mana. It says something along, I can't remember the exact like text, but it's like put all your cards in your hand and your deck draw 4 cards. But then if you outcast it, which is Demon Hunter's mechanic, which means if it's cast on the most left or right side of your hand, it also like your opponent also does it. That card was hyped to be like one of the greatest things of all time, and ended up being not very good. In Lorcana, there's a card for 5 mana. Like each player puts their discards their hand and they draw 7 cards. That card's fucking awesome in aggro decks. That card's very good in Lorcana. In Yu-Gi-Oh, a game where you don't have mana, and I can play this card, and I don't give a single fuck what my opponent draws because I'm playing this to play all 6 cards in one turn. This card is card's broken. Like there's no way this card's legal. There's no way that they would print this. This is disgusting. In the anime, I can see it like being like, oh, my hand's empty, top deck card of Sanctity, and all of a sudden like my opponent's crying in the corner, Weevil's losing his mind. In real Yu-Gi-Oh, no shot. If they ban Pot of Greed, there's no way this card's being printed. Too good. No way. Final answer. Don't fucking tell me this. That's okay. Banish all of the cards you control in your hand. Okay, yeah. Draw until you have 2 cards in your hand. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Card of Sanctity is purely a card that when the script writers need to refuel their hands because Yugi and Kaiba will go like -3 to do anything and lose. This is one of the cards that both of them always have to refuel their hands so they have more cards to play. You were right, they would never print this as actual text in the actual game because it would be broken. This would be like basically like maybe the most broken card in all of Disney. This card would be absolutely trash. But I thought it would be fun to show you how bad they murdered our boy Card of Sanctity, the actual printed version of it.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it's disgusting. That's too good. That's too good. It literally would probably be the best card. It's funny because like I showed you Secret Passage in Hearthstone. For those of you who don't know, it's 1 mana to like redraw a hand for 5 cards. Like that card in Yu-Gi-Oh would be fucking just like insane. Like, this is like it's the same line. Like it is. It's too good. That's so. That means like in the show while they're writing it, they're like, guys, we fucked up. They're running out of cards.
No, literally, that's like why, because they just play so many bad cards and then they need to like refuel their hands. Literally.
That's funny. Final attack orders. Okay. As long as this card remains face up on the field, all monsters on the field are changed to attack position. Upon activation, both players choose 3 cards in their respective decks. All other cards in the deck are sent to the graveyard, and the 3 cards they choose become their new respective decks. Wow, that is cinema. That is.
Isn't it?
That's pretty sick.
The art was sick.
Wow, if you fucking play this turn 1, oh my god. Unironically, is this not super good in Exodia? You only need 5 pieces, right? I mean, there's a line where you say like, "Fuck it, like this is the game now, dude. Like you gotta kill me, otherwise it's over. I'm just gonna get all the pieces." And Yu-Gi-Oh is like when your deck's empty, you still have to draw 1 extra card to lose the game, right?
Yeah. So you're like when you draw and like you draw your 40th card. Let's say there's no other cards left in your deck. The next draw phase or the next time you draw a card is when you lose.
Okay, I think this card's sick. Really interesting design. Might be too good. God, because it
might be too good.
So let me ask you a question. In Yu-Gi-Oh, because Hearthstone, I think the answer is no. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, because you guys have no mana, if you could put 4 cards, or sorry, how many cards you get in your opening hand? 4? 5?
No, 5.
Okay, if you could run 8 cards in your deck, would you run 8 cards in your deck?
If we could run 8 cards in our deck, would we run 8 cards in our deck?
Like rather than the limit of 40, like you can only run 8.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah.
So that's what I think this is, right? If you get this in your opening hand, it's like, okay, good luck. Your deck better be more consistent than mine. Because you could, I think the Exodia line is not even that ridiculous. I'm sure there's ways to tutor cards from your deck specifically, and you could set it up so you could draw like only the Exodia pieces, maybe over a course of 2 turns. And especially if your opponent doesn't set up a board that's like insane, you could just basically just inevitable the game and like you would win it. I don't know if it translates that well from the anime, but I can see the thought process of why this card would be really, really good. I don't even think you care about the face-up attack position things. Like, I don't think you care about that. I think you're here to set up some like, this is min-maxing. In the anime itself, it's probably something along the lines of like, he's got a defense position monster. I needed to go to attack to kill it, but in order to do that, I ruined my whole deck. Is that worth it? Yeah, I mean, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Fuck yeah, it is. So, like, it seems pretty good. I would hope that they would not do this, but I will probably say that they did, and that's probably translated 1-to-1.
Final answer?
Final answer. I think it's cool enough that they would. They did not. I can just tell from the text. All face-up monsters on the field are changing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, sure, whatever.
If they printed the anime final attack order, which is a Kaiba card for context, this would be so broken. Literally, this card says mill 30-something cards from your deck. And with how much the graveyard is a second-handed Yu-Gi-Oh!, you would just win automatically through like 4,000 different ways. There's no way they would ever print this 1-to-1. Final Attack Orders, the actual version of it, has actually seen play, though. Not like any time recently, but back in the old days, there were these decks called Skill Drain, like Final Attack Order beatdown decks. And so basically, they would play these giant monsters that had these big downsides, but this card called Skill Drain negates the effects of all monsters on the field. It was double-sided because not only did it make your monsters like have no downside and they just had huge attack stats, but it negated all the opponent's monster effects as well. So any of their good value generating cards were basically negated. Pair that with final attack orders, now everything has to go to attack position. You're always getting in for huge amounts of damage and just beating them down super quickly. Was never like a tier 1 strategy or anything, but it was a deck that some people did choose to play and was it was not bad. It was like a rogue deck, if you will, and just like a sort of anti-meta thing. And it was fine. It was like an okay thing. And that's basically how people use this card. It never really saw much play outside of that. But neat little card. The anime version of it's fucking batshit nuts. It's crazy.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right.
Does Master Duel like ever do like fun events, which is like the anime style is legal? And then
no, not like that. Our events are really boring. Although we just did have an event where everyone had to play an Exodia deck where all the pieces were 3, and you play like all the draw power that's like banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that was actually very fun because there was a lot of like interaction and weird, neat stuff you can do. So we get some fun events every now and then. But most of the time they kind of suck. I'll be honest.
Okay. Well, that's how it is in Hearthstone, so that's fine.
Yeah, okay. So it's similar. Okay. All right, last but not least, we have saved the best for last.
Okay. Ah, really? Okay. What is this? Golden Castle of Stromberg. Holy shit. Okay. I'm sorry. I saw like the amount of bullet points this thing has. During each of your standby phases, send half the cards in your deck to the graveyard. If you cannot, destroy this card. Once per turn during your main phase 1, special summon 1 random level 4 or lower monster from your deck in face-up attack position. You cannot normal summon or set monsters. All monsters special summoned by this card's effect and all monsters your opponent controls must attack if able. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy that monster and inflict damage to your opponent to half the monster's attack. This card cannot be destroyed by the effects of other spells, traps, or effect monsters. Your opponent must play this card's maintenance cost. What is a maintenance cost? Oh, okay. Okay, so that's like, you have to do that every single turn. Wow, that is extremely interesting. Huh. So you don't really play a game. It's just like, what mini do you summon? And that's the game. That's incredible. That is, man, see, like, this, I wish Hearthstone had custom rules because I think this would be an incredibly fun, like, deck building challenge. You can't deal damage, but you have to set up in a way for like you to win this game.
Oh, you can deal damage. The opponent just can't deal damage.
Oh, sorry, I read that wrong then. Oh, what the fuck?
It's only when it
Oh, hell no, they're printing this card. Then what the hell? Oh, no. This is not, there's no way. Whose card is this Yu-Gi? Classic.
This is actually one of the villains in the 5th season of the first arc.
Who, just the person that goes against this, the person that owns this card?
Yugi goes against this card.
Does he lose? How does he
I'm not gonna say. Oh, unless you want me to tell you. I just want me to tell you the secret.
You can there's no way I'm watching season 5. So what, or season 4?
Okay. The secret is that Yugi got his deck down to 1 card, so he can't pay the maintenance cost because he can't send half of his deck to the graveyard, so the castle destroys itself.
And he wins the game.
On the next turn, yes, of course.
I go. That's crazy. Okay, yeah. Show me the real card. There's no way they printed this.
No way they printed it 1-to-1.
No way. God, the way he said that, like, you're telling me they did. Oh no. Once per turn, during your standby phase, you must banish 10 cards from the top of your deck face down. This is not optional, or this card is destroyed. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 monster from your deck that specifically lists the card Golden Castle of Stromberg in its text. You cannot normal summon set the turn you activate this effect, even if this card leaves the field. You can only use the effect of this once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy the attacking monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the monster on the field. Okay, so it's kind of the same thing.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. So like if you're looking at the other text of it, so the maintenance cost, instead of sending half the cards from your deck to the graveyard, first of all, that would be broken. Again, we already covered that with final attack order. So this banishes them. And it also banishes face down, which is very important because banishing face down means like most of the time you're not getting those cards back ever. So they changed the maintenance cost to make it more balanced in that regard. The summoning effect is not any monster, but it's a specific monster that lists Golden Castle of Stromberg in its text. And for reference, like all the cards that this villain uses are like cards that list Golden Castle of Stromberg in the text. So it's meant to fetch out those cards, essentially. Instead of it being anything, which would be way more broken. But they have the clause you can't normal summon or set the turn you use that effect. That also has the effect that when your opponent attacks, it blows up the monster and they take damage equal to the attack or whatever. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, there's like they also made it like in the anime immune to everything. But the fact that like, you know, the whole thing I told you with Yugi having only one card to make it go away, that was very funny. But this might shock you. This card has actually seen play. Let me show you this card really quick. This deck with this card actually got second place at a YCS once. And it's actually topped several YCSs as well. Let's show you this guy real quick.
Okay, hold on. Grand Maju da Isa?
Yeah, you got it right on.
The attack and the defense of this card becomes the number of your cards that are removed from play. Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting.
So, what people figured out is they made this Golden Castle Grand Maju deck where Golden Castle will banish 10 cards from the top of your deck. There's other cards like Pot of Desires, banish 10 cards, draw 2. It's Pot of Greed, right? There's a bunch of cards in this deck that banish cards just immediately and make Grand Maju over like 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 attack. So they call this deck One Punch Man, because you basically just summon Grand Maju and just smash your opponent in the face for 1 million damage with one hit, and they can't do anything about it, so they just lose. So like this card actually saw play, which is really cool. And like I said, it actually almost won the tournament. It's topped multiple tournaments. It was a very good deck for its time. It's a bit outdated and just power crept at this point. And it was a rogue deck. It was never considered like a really like good deck that you would want to play. But when people weren't expecting it, you kind of have this like oh shit moment where you're like, I can't beat this, and you're just gonna lose. So it's very fun. It's very card game. But I'm glad that this card actually did see play. I think it's
sure. I don't have anything to search.
It does have a lot of text on it, but I think it's actually like fairly well designed, I would say. And the Golden Castle monsters are actually not like terrible on their own. They're actually like very playable. So like even if you don't have the Grand Maju, you can still like sort of play a game as a team.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I think that's cool. I mean, sure, like you guys are right there. Yeah, some of them are really cool. I do think like I wish Master Duel would do like allow the action. Yeah, they should do. I'm surprised they haven't done it because I feel like a lot of people would be really excited, especially the seal. I think the seal would open up so many interesting decks. That'd be cool. I've been a huge proponent like in Hearthstone of trying to get like custom games become a reality because I think there's just so many cool rules that you could do as players, and like this is a perfect example of it.
We're in the same boat where we really hope that they do that one day. Unfortunately, they don't listen to us, and that will probably never happen. But you know, we can.
I guess you can do it in IRL at least.
Yeah, you can, but it's like I don't know. It's like
so, yeah,
it's so cool that we have. It's cool that like over time, like obviously with the anime, part of the point of the anime was to sell the cards, and a lot of them came out in conjunction with like when the anime aired. That was like part of the selling mechanism. But then it's cool that we got some of these like super old cards like way later on, and that some of them actually weren't back playable. Like Golden Castle didn't get printed until 2018, and it first got shown in the anime in like 2004, 2005, right? So I mean, it's cool that they have the ability to like play on themselves.
Well, it's also interesting because I wonder if they tried to print it early on. You know, like there's no way this is going to be playable, and if you add it to the game, it's just not going to do the same effect whatsoever. So then, like 15 years later, you're like, guys, hold on. Remember this card? But I don't know.
Yeah, they have like these sets that Japan specifically started out every year that was like sort of like anime throwback sets where they would like only print cards that were from the anime that hadn't been printed yet with like modern text and effects. And some of those cards have been extremely good, like Golden Castle, and others are really bad. But it's cool that like sometimes those cards do get to play that people can feel like, oh yeah, I remember that card from the anime, right?
Yeah.
It's cool though. It's cool. I thought this was a fun concept. So I'm glad
Cool idea. Cool idea. Cool idea. No, I agree. This is fun.
So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all their continued support. So shout to Shout1317, Tim0x3, MBT Playing Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Dan the Man Homan, Little Bailey, Draconic, Brian Dancer, Class 7, Dylan Rare Hunter, JW11860, Flannel Daddy, literally all of the guinea pigs, Cheeks McLafferty, Snowfin Amethyst, MBT Cancel by Community soon, Cancel by all Committee soon, Cancel by all Players soon, Wonder Waffle, MBT and Nimbin, 1 Boxer Breed Fueled Night of Passion, Daniel Howell, Electrician of the Ice Barrier, Arco, and the Nova 129. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
I'm just baffled. After all the series has been through, I can't believe they remade Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and it's awesome. I think this is the new definitive way to play the game. The original does have a few advantages here and there, but they improved so much, man. It's faithful in all the ways I wanted it to be, for the most part only making quality of life changes without outright invalidating what was already there. Oh, and they added so much to the presentation too. Hundreds of new character animations, many new music tracks, it's great. But one of the remake's most controversial changes is in its dialogue, and if you watched either of my previous videos, you'll know that the Thousand Year Door's dialogue is something I care about a whole lot. So I decided to have a closer look at this. A very close look. I examined every individual line of dialogue from both versions to see which script is the better one. Has the dialogue been held back by new guidelines, or do the changes actually elevate it? Well, truth is, it's a little of both, but let's find out the ratio of good and bad changes. Now, while I did check every line of dialogue, sadly I can't make this video a complete list of dialogue changes. Trust me, I really wanted to do that, but we'd be here forever, and it'd be pretty boring too. By my estimation, more than half of all pre-existing conversations have been altered in some way, and then there's all the new dialogue on top of that. Like, you know that partner hint system they added? That feature alone has added 602 new messages, and there's so much more. In fact, to save us all some time, in this video, with one exception, I won't be talking about dialogue from new NPCs or pre-existing NPCs in new locations, because all of their dialogue is new. If you don't know who those are, they're the Battle Master, Ian Fumas, Charlieton in the Bogly Woods, Prince Mush outside of Chapter 3, the Quiz Boo, the Shipwrecked Salesman, Waka in the Pit of 100 Trials, and the Mover outside of the Pit of 100 Trials. If you want to see their dialogue, or any of the changes I've decided to exclude from this video, you can check out my website, dialoguetree.net, where you can find a complete script of both games. Anyway, let's have a look at those changes. First of all, while this video's primary purpose is to discuss changes made to the game's text, I'd be remiss not to mention the updates in presentation. All NPCs now have voices. I love these. Throughout my entire playthrough, I couldn't wait to see each NPC, just to hear what kind of voice they'd have. After 20 years of silence, it's so interesting to see an official take on what these characters are supposed to sound like. Some of them even make me laugh out loud. Another great change is that characters now emote too. Their expressions can change over the course of a conversation to match what they're saying. Characters are a lot more expressive in general in this remake, but the cutscenes are one thing. Going in, I did not expect to see this level of expressiveness in basic optional character dialogue too. And they also added several new dialogue box types. For example, did you know that in the original game, the sign dialogue box type was actually two different dialogue boxes that happened to look identical? One of them was called Kanban and the other Plates. This seems to suggest they were at some point intended to be distinct box types, but in the end the idea was scrapped. The remake seems to finally realize this original vision though. There's now the original wooden sign and a stone version, which I'm guessing would be Plates. Admittedly, the locations of these don't exactly line up with where Kanban and Plate are used in the original, but I'd like to think the idea came from this Kanban-Plate split. There's also a new shouting message box, and a ghost one, which has a shouting and small variant. Next, have you seen the menus? They've been streamlined a lot. In the original, NPCs that provide a service would just talk your ear off. They'd have long introductions or ask you unnecessary questions. Some of them would end the conversation when you said no to something, whereas in the remake they bring you back to the primary menu. There's just a lot of little changes that speed up the process. Here's one from the inns, for example. If you wanted to sleep at an inn while you have a coupon, you would have to say you want to stay and then select if you want to use the coupon or not. The remake simply makes this a separate option in the first menu, so it's a single A press regardless of what you choose. That may seem small, because it is, but things like that do really add up over time. And that's because every NPC that provides a service has received some level of streamlining that makes their interactions just a little bit quicker, even ones you wouldn't think of, like Bandy Andy. The biggest winners in this category are clearly the shopkeepers though. Those feel way better. Let me just give you an example. Let's race the two versions through a shop interaction. Let's say you want to pull 2 items from your storage, but your inventory is full, so you have to store 2 of them first. Here's what that looks like in both versions. This difference in particular really adds up. With the limited inventory space you get, you'll be messing with storage a lot, especially if you're going for all recipes. There's a couple of things in the remake that have been renamed. It's not a lot, but maybe more than you'd expect. First of all, every item with shroom in its name now has that word replaced with mushroom. It's probably because shrooms is a word mostly used in the context of drugs, but it may also have been a character limitation thing, I'm not sure. The Ratui businessman wanted to join up with Mr. Hoggle to make a new product called the tongue-blistering fat dog. This is an item you can now actually make by combining the hot dog and hot sauce, and that's probably why they renamed it to Hottest Dog. The original name was way too long for the item menu, even with the remake's increased character limit. There's other item name changes too, a lot of key items that have been renamed for one reason or another, including keys that used to have identical names now being differentiated by color or symbol. For some reason, these mice characters were called Squeaks in Paper Mario, but they've always been known as Little Mousers outside of it, so now that's been changed to be consistent with the rest of the franchise. Sadly, the penguins didn't get the same treatment. They're still called penguins, even though the little round ones are actually Yoshi's Island enemies called Bumpties. Rogueport Sewers is now officially known as Rogueport Underground, but it is still often referred to as a sewer in the dialogue itself. I actually think this is better. The people who live there probably prefer not to think of it as a sewer, you know? The Thwomp quizzes in the GameCube version were called the 65th Super Fun Quirk Quiz and the 66th Annual Quirk Quiz respectively. In the remake, they were renamed to be the 65th and 66th Trivia Quiz-Off, which makes them a direct continuation of the 64th Trivia Quiz-Off from Paper Mario 64. The cannon in Far Outpost actually didn't have a name originally, but now it's been lovingly nicknamed Big Bob. I think that's great. Considering how important the cannon is to the Bob-ombs, it probably should have had a name from the start. This may seem like a weird inclusion for a list of name changes, but the original very consistently called these bushes clumps of grass. The remake decides to call them shrubs every time they're mentioned. I'll always think of them as bushes, but it's definitely better than clumps of grass. Probably the most significant name change, the Shadow Sirens are now called the Three Shadows. This is the only name change I don't like. It's just kinda plain, isn't it? I'm not sure why they changed it either. Maybe they thought the word siren was too sexual because sirens are known to be dangerously seductive in Greek mythology? I don't know. I will say this puts it closer in line with the Japanese name, which is the Shadow Trio, but I still think Sirens was better. In the Glitz Pit, the Armored Harriers are now called the Iron Adonis Twins, so you'd be forgiven for thinking they were named that all along. You see, every team in the Glitz Pit has a name and an introduction. In the case of Mario, his name is the Great Gonzalez, and his introduction is the Merciless Executioner in Chapter 3, and the Superstar sequel afterwards. In the GameCube version, the name of this team was the Armored Harriers, and their introduction was the Iron Adonis Twins. However, despite this, a lot of dialogue refers to them as the Iron Adonis Twins instead of the Armored Harriers. So the developers had a choice: fix these pieces of dialogue to